Well, good evening. Gonna try this here. I've went through multiple test runs here with this new mic that I got. Well, it's not a new mic. It's been packed away in my drawer for a while, but the sound quality should be better. I'm gonna take a look at the GFS model run here. Already advanced ahead about 66 hours here to Monday, September 23rd, when we start to see this low pressure area develop here down in the Northwest Caribbean Sea. Now, from there, we have multiple options. One we'll see right over here, just pretty much due west. One we'll see coming up into the Louisiana area. And the final one we'll see coming right across the Florida Peninsula. We're going to take a look at all of this right now and not issue any official forecast because that is not possible at this point in time. Everything is still totally up in the air with this. I'm just doing a video tonight because we are now within 7 days again. Wednesday night I thought we were within 7 days, then everything shifted, and then Thursday night I thought we were going to be within 7 days and everything shifted, and now we're here at Friday night, and Dakota is about to start making a bunch of noise because she's going crazy because she doesn't know who I'm talking to. And I'm going to advance this forward here. We're into Tuesday. You can see that area. Oh, let's go back. We're into Tuesday. And you see that area still trying to develop down here in the Northwest Caribbean. This particular run of the GFS looks to be trying to develop it a little bit farther to the west, or east, I mean. I always get those backwards when I do these videos. Starting to come together here on Thursday, September 26th. And there goes Dakota. She's behind me now. We're going to continue to advance that forward. Pulls it to the northwest a little bit over there into the Gulf of Mexico, and then pretty much due north right into the western Florida Panhandle, or even that one actually appears to be in Alabama at 972 millibars, which is a Category 2 borderline Category 3 hurricane. Sweeping rain across the Florida Peninsula. Not a lot of rain, but a decent amount. And then that continues due north, and then it gets kind of spotty after it moves in. And we'll explain that here in just a few minutes, why I think that's happening and why I think that track is not so accurate. I believe that it's actually going to be a bit further to the east, but that is a tough call at this point in time, and we'll explain a little bit more about that as I move forward. Let's go ahead and look at the Canadian model, going kind of in order with how models have been performing this year. This is again looking at Saturday. Wow, I don't think I've seen this run of the Canadian yet. This is the 12Z, and it is way over there. Landfall near the same, almost exactly the same place that Francine came in. Francine came in just a little bit to the east of there at 975. And again, this model run, same thing that's going on with the GFS. When we take a look at the ensembles, the majority of the ensembles are going to be over here and in this area. And then we got a few that are kind of over here and over here, and it's kind of taking the average of the two and going up the middle. This scenario is probably more likely, but again, not making any official forecasts here. This is just looking at the operational model runs at this point in time. Let's go ahead and advance that forward a little bit more. We're looking at Sunday at 0Z here, and that actually continues to move northwest. That is extremely unlikely that that's going to move any west after it makes landfall, because we're going to have the jet stream and a frontal boundary kind of tugging this thing off to the east. That is not my favorite run of the Canadian that I've seen so far. Well, for us in Florida, that's fantastic because we won't get anything, but that is not consistent with what the Canadian's been showing for the most part. I'm not going to show any previous runs at this time. Don't need to go into that much detail just yet, as this is just barely even worth covering at this point. The new model that we've been looking at this year, this is the Euro AI, and actually uses a lot of previous storm data and stuff and learns from itself to try to produce better forecasts. We're looking at Friday, September 27th here with a landfall in almost the exact same spot that the GFS is showing. That's at 984 millibars. That's a strong Category 1 to possibly Category 2 hurricane. And again, that one pulls northwest after landfall. And that I don't know why, but that scenario to me seems extremely unlikely. If it is going to make landfall in that area, I would expect more of a track like that, or maybe like that, or some kind of easterly track. I would not expect to see this go that way. That's weird, but not going to rule it out. Models know a lot more than I do. So let's go back here. The actual Euro, the main European model, I believe has come on board also. Nope, it's back to this westerly thing. Nope, the main Euro is still doing this. No, it's doing that. It's kind of pulling it across to the west and then drags it back up to... That's, again, the same thing when we get to the ensemble models. I'll explain why it looks like that. Because there are two scenarios here. One is that it does that more westerly motion, like right down here, and one that it does that. And these models are trying to split the two. That's why we're seeing models go over here and over there and just kind of develop over here, then all of a sudden pop up over here. That's because of these two scenarios that we're seeing in the ensemble models that I'll explain here in just a minute. And that's why I think that these operational runs, as we call them right now, are a bit misleading, because they're splitting their ensembles and kind of taking the middle track, which is not really where anything's going to happen. Again, we're looking at a track like that or a track like that, basically, with the ensembles, which I'll show in a minute. I keep saying that, but we'll get there. Any more globals we want to take a look at? We've looked at the Euro, we've looked at the American, we've looked at the Canadian. The Icon hasn't been doing very well with this system. Not going out quite far enough yet to really say where it's going to go. Very similar to the Euro, actually. This one's taking it. You can't see it in this regional view. We'll have to go back to the Western Atlantic. This is the Icon showing a storm in the Pacific. But you see our area right down here trying to pull together on the Icon here. This is Monday, September 23rd. And it very slowly pulls to the north. This is a more northerly track than I've seen on any of the Icon models lately. Trying to pull it up here, but this only goes out to 120 hours. This is Wednesday, September 25th. Starting to show a tropical storm forming here in the northern Bay of Campeche or the southern central Gulf of Mexico. And very consistent with most of the other models. There's no more that I really want to look at on this site. Let's go ahead and go, well, we want to stay on this site, but we want to go ahead and look at the Canadian ensembles, which is the GEPS. And we want to look a little farther back than that. And we want to take a look at their ensemble MSLP. And basically where you're seeing the yellows and the oranges here are where it thinks that a storm is going to develop. And I'm going to slowly advance this forward. And now you see where those oranges are starting to develop in the central Gulf of Mexico. And then you see them kind of split. And this is where the ensembles start to disagree. Some are thinking that it's going to hang out down here for a while. Some are thinking it's going to split off and pull across the Florida Panhandle like that. And as we advance a little bit further in this, you can see where even more disagreement begins to happen with these ensembles. And one set of ensembles believes the storm's going to be up here, one believes it's going to be over here, one believes it's going to be over here, doing a track like this, doing a track like this, and doing a track like that. And as it averages all of that together, it comes out to be something like that. And I misdrew that one. These actually show it going this way. But that's why that track is averaging out to go in that area. Good, but the majority of these ensembles, as you can see, the darkest area right over here coming up into the Florida area, the majority of these ensembles are doing something like that. And it's just the operational run averaging all of these ensembles that's doing something like that. So this is actually where the Canadian model is showing these things right now into the Florida Big Bend area or Panhandle. And that is also occurring with the GFS. Let's go ahead and just advance that a little farther just to show. You see how these couple members hang out over here in the Gulf, which is what's pulling that operational to the west. And these members up here just continue to push inland. And then we got one lone or two lone members that kind of hang out down there, which is probably not the case. And actually, amazingly, that member pulls right up back toward the Big Bend of Florida, even going into the following week on Wednesday, October 2nd, which that's not even worth thinking about. But that's the general thinking of the Canadian model. You can see as the genesis here. Some are faster than others, bring it into the Florida Panhandle. Others are a little slower, bring it toward the Florida Big Bend, and others take it to the western Gulf of Mexico, kind of just hang out and then pull north into the Louisiana area. So the average of that brings it up into the Louisiana area, even though the focus of those ensembles is definitely in the Florida Panhandle or Big Bend area. Let's go ahead and go look at the GFS model on this map because I like this presentation. Go back a little bit here, and as we pull forward, you can already see a significant amount of different groups here, showing four different areas really, where this thing could start coming together. And we advance forward. That's just a single member there that's way ahead of everybody else. But you can see how a few members have migrated here towards South Florida and kind of crossed South Florida up through Central Florida, while we also have a bunch of members out here in the Gulf of Mexico still, well offshore. And I'll show these as specific track lines here in just a little bit. And this one's actually a lot more well defined. A few come across South Florida and go out into the Atlantic, but we also have a very large cluster right here that's going to pull into the Big Bend and northeast. Let's go ahead and advance that a little bit further there. And yeah, all up into the Big Bend. And not as much on that run, but the GFS is also showing another Central American gyrate storm starting to develop down here behind this one that could also be of interest to us, but we're not even going to think about that yet. Way too far out. So again, GFS very focused on Florida, but we see right here, we see these couple of ensembles which are causing the GFS operational to pull to the west and try to average the two and do something like that, instead of do what the majority of the models are showing, something like that. Or not really that curved at the end, but like that. Any more ensembles I want to show here before we go to the actual ensemble tracks? Oh yeah, we have the Euros on here. This I have not seen yet. It is still running, actually. I'll pull back. Euro is not showing as strong of a storm at all. But you see that area beginning to develop there on Thursday, the 26th, right down here. And we're going to continue to... The Euro is all over the place, as it has been. We got ensembles showing stuff like this, ensembles showing stuff like this, ensembles showing stuff like this, ensembles showing stuff like this. So Euro's hard to use right now in this general sense. But again, you do see, as with most of the models, you see a large area of ensembles pull this way, which has been the general sense. And we also have this big cluster over here. And the Euro has been our westerly outlier on this one the whole time. But that is not a extremely credible model right now. This year, the Euro has been doing absolutely horrible with storms that have not yet developed. And yeah, you see how that just kind of, for a while, that stalls out there in that Gulf of Mexico to the west and then kind of pulls in. Even though this latest, that's again same thing, that operational Euro is kind of pulling to the west a little bit, then tries to pull back toward these ensemble members that are going toward Florida. Let's go over to Weather Nerds and we'll pull up the Euro here. Oh wow, I don't even have to give it any information. We're gonna pick us a spot and we're going to zoom in. This is all of the ensemble's actual tracks for the Euro right now. And this is actually the first few runs that we've seen a pretty good consensus in this kind of area. And if I had to draw a forecast cone right now, it would be close to that, a little bit wider. But you can still see all of these tracks that take the storm to the west here. We've got them coming up into the Central Gulf. We've got them coming up into the Florida Panhandle. We've got them coming across Central Florida. The Euro is lost on this storm. We've seen no consistency except for this kind of westerly deal down here, which just does not seem very credible with this storm, and history does not support that. But it's not impossible. Not ruling anything out yet. The other one we want to look at here is going to be the EFS, which is the... oh, wow. It's not going to make me do anything crazy either. This run of the GFS almost looks like that last run of the Euro that we looked at. But the GFS has been very focused on a track. Something in this little circle that I'm about to draw here. Something like that. The majority of the tracks have been staying in that side of that area where they group at. On this particular run, they're kind of all over the place, but you still see more tracks in that general vicinity than anywhere else. And every run is different. But like I said, this general northward trend into the Gulf somewhere in this area, and then a track toward the north and east, has been the general trend of all the models and all of their ensembles over the past few days. As for location of landfall and intensity, not even going to take a shot at that yet. We've seen everything from barely a hurricane to maybe even just a tropical storm, all the way up to possibly a Category 5. So that is totally out of question. There's nobody that's going to be able to tell you even close to what we think intensity-wise. What we need is to wait till about Monday or Tuesday when that low-pressure area starts to develop down here, and then we'll actually have a center for these models to track, instead of starting in all these little areas like you see down here where all these lines start. We'll have a center to start from, and that'll give us a lot better idea of what is going to push this thing around, whether it's the jet stream that's dipped down through here, or if it's this area of high pressure that's over in this area. What's going to push this thing around. If it develops closer to the Yucatan, we could see this track this way. If it develops closer to Cuba and farther north, we could see this track this way. If we see it develop farther north but kind of in the middle, we could see more of a track into the Panhandle. It's has a lot to do with where that center of circulation actually starts to develop, and we're not going to know that until at least Monday or Tuesday, if not mid to late week next week, actually. Clear the board. There we go. Don't think I have a lot else to show here on this particular video, since I'm not going super in depth on this one, and we do not have a actual invest to track yet. Therefore, we don't have quite as much information as we would normally have. Oh wow, look at that. National Hurricane Center has expanded their oh, they moved it up to 60% too. Have expanded their area of expected development a bit, and have increased the percentage to 60%. I wouldn't be surprised to see that bump up to 70% tomorrow over the next 7 days, because every single model that exists shows this thing developing. Now including the Euro, which hasn't been included for the past few days. Oh, got a burp, sorry. Broad area of low pressure could form by the early to middle part of next week over the northwestern Caribbean Sea. Thereafter, gradual development of the system is possible, and a tropical depression could form as the system moves slowly to the north or northwest over the northwestern Caribbean Sea and into the southern Gulf of Mexico through the end of next week. Don't have a lot more information than that from the National Hurricane Center. If you don't understand anything that I just talked about in the last 20 minutes or so, that's all you need to know. 60% chance of a tropical cyclone forming in the Gulf of Mexico over the next 7 days, and the potential of where it could go is the entire Gulf Coast. Florida, though, if it was in my opinion, would be much higher on alert than anywhere else. As for the St. Johns River and people that live close to me, if some of these models that are showing it come across Central Florida verify, it's not going to look good for us when it comes to flooding. Of course, this is a west coast system, therefore we're not really worried too much about the winds. It's more about the water. And that's about all that I got here for tonight. I'm not going to go super in depth. Feel like I've been on for about 5 minutes, but it's probably been like 25. 23. We're going to stop this right here. And we'll be back again tomorrow night unless something drastically changes, which I doubt it will, because this has been showing up in the models for the past... Frig, I've been tracking this for almost a week already, and this is my first video. So, I'll be back tomorrow night with an update.